My husband walked in, said he wanted a divorce, and he told me to get out of the house. It ripped my heart out. I had no means. I didn't have a credit card in my name.
And since she'd worked for her husband, now Rita Bonarigo didn't have a job.
Eventually, I couldn't pay rent. That makes your like heart palpitations. It makes you feel like you're drowning. It's a nightmare. And you just feel like a loser. Like, what happened?
Rita reluctantly moved back to her childhood home, where she could share basic expenses with her sister.
Over 45, alone, competing in a world where youth matters in sales. It's a lonely feeling, and I cried out to God.
Rita had become a Christian and started giving years before.
I trusted God, I believed His word, and He said, test me.
So as she got small jobs, she gave.
If I earned $100, I gave 10 back to the Lord. I just knew that I was supposed to tithe, and so I tithed.
One place she gave to was CBN.
The 700 Club does so much good with the money they receive with Orphan's Promise. And then like where they go in and do the surgeries, like for the cleft palate surgeries, eye cataract. I trust them with every dime I send them.
She says it was this consistent giving that gave her faith to believe that things would change.
I didn't know how. I was like scratching and clawing at this point and desperate. But I knew that somewhere God had a blessing for me. And as I continued to tithe, God was faithful. Eventually, He opened the door.
Before long, Rita started landing jobs with top office supply sales firms.
I remember my first year when He finally said, okay, the test is done. You've passed the test, and now here we go. I earned over $200,000 that year.
From there, her income continued to grow.
In my job, I always prayed for wisdom and discernment, that God would be glorified. God started putting people, decision makers in my life that we just clicked.
One big client even helped her open her own business.
The increase in my company from when we first started, it's had to be at least 100-fold, at least 100-fold. I'm blessed to be a blessing. If I tithe, God can trust me.
Rita's advice for anyone struggling like she once did: put God first and give.
When you think you have no hope, that you are so desperate, trust God. When He says, I will open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings, you just cannot outgive God.